These are the only makeup products that you need in your routine. Your routine does not need to feel confusing, and it should really feel like an extension of your lifestyle. So if you really are just looking for a makeup bag with essentials without the overwhelm, but again, with the beauty and the fun, this video is definitely for you. We're gonna walk through the 3 levels of a makeup bag, starting from bare minimum everyday essentials to something a little bit more polished like I have on my face today. Think of it like a capsule wardrobe where you can kind of slowly add different pieces and steps depending on your lifestyle or what you have going on. But before we jump into level 1, I'm sure you all have noticed my absolutely beautiful robe from Printfresh. They are very kindly sponsoring this portion of the video. This is their Eco Satin robe in Midnight Flutter. And if you've watched my channel, you know I'm wearing Printfresh robes very often when I get ready with you all. It's just because they feel so substantial and soft, but also kind of like I'm not wearing anything. And I love that feeling in my pajamas and my robes. I love them because I feel like the patterns are really fun, but super elegant as well. It just feels like that elevated part of my getting ready me time. I have a lot of their sets, but I have been wearing their new Eco Satin Wrap PJ set, and this is the botanical checkerboard, and I love it because it's like a mini robe on top. But then you also get the pajama bottom, so it's like elegant robe on the top, but then super soft pajama bottoms. Basically everyone that I have turned on to Printfresh absolutely loves them. My sister wore them on her wedding day, and they are having a site-wide Black Friday sale. I believe it's like 25% off everything, so I will leave more details down below for you guys. It really feels like the patterns are getting more and more beautiful from Printfresh. Pretty sure this is my favorite yet. Let's get back to our makeup bags. Let's start with level 1. And think of a level 1 makeup bag as like your bare essentials. These are really the core of your makeup bag. It should feel really simple. This is like a 2 to 5 minute routine. Number 1, and in my personal opinion, probably one of the most important makeup items, period. Like, this is no exaggeration. It's concealer. This is why I talk so much about concealer on my channel. It's because I personally think that it is at the top of my list of the most important essential that you could have. So when you are choosing a concealer for your makeup bag, I think it's really important to go with a concealer that looks good both on the face and under the eyes. So I personally think that having a concealer for only under the eyes, I mean, again, I tend to be someone that goes a little bit extra, but there are formulas that exist that look beautiful both on the face and under the eyes. But I'll be frank, I don't think that there is a lot. Like, there are some, but I don't think that there's actually a lot. If I could give any advice in this department, it is to look for really spreadable concealers that really like to be sheared out, because if you're using this on the face, you want it to be able to really blend rather than just kind of patch up and stick to only one spot. I like something like the Tar 28 Serum Swipe Concealer because one, it looks really good under my eyes. I'm obviously wearing like most of the makeup that I'm talking about today on my face. I really like it because personally for me, it really smooths out the hollowness under my eyes. It doesn't make my under eyes look more dry and cakey, but it also lasts wherever I put it on my face, and it really is fluid enough to be sheared out. So if I wanted to, for example, just take the doe foot applicator, spot conceal on blemishes that I have, but also do kind of like a quick highlight down the center of my face and take care of some slightly larger areas of redness. So for example, like right here on the cheek, I would be able to do that. With some potted concealers, they are so dense that they're not going to be able to give you that flexibility. And when we're talking about the core of the routine, flexibility and versatility is really important. So this is an incredibly versatile concealer. I actually think it works well on a lot of different skin types too. So that's why it ends up being like kind of my number 1 recommendation. So if you really want to like pack a pigment punch, I also recommend something like the CL concealer. This one's really good because it's quite fluffy, but it has enough spreadability and there's quite a lot of coverage. So those are the options that I would give you guys. I also do have an upcoming video talking about my entire concealer collection, so make sure you're subscribed for that if you are obsessed with concealer the way that I am. Now that we have the concealer down, we have a really nice base going. This is personally when I would recommend a lip and a cheek product. Now, you could definitely go a lot of different ways with this, but I find that a very, very well formulated lip and cheek it goes such a long way, you guys. You do not need to worry about how to match your blush with your lips. It just becomes so streamlined when you are able to use the same lip and cheek product. But again, there are a lot of brands that say we do a really good lip and cheek, and you can very clearly tell that it's not necessarily the best thing. So, a couple of different recommendations I have. I'm a lip stain and cheek stain lover. Like, I am a huge fan of like the Benetint line from Benefit. Cha Cha Tint is a really lovely bright orange, and this is the Benetint dark cherry, so this would work really well if you have more of a deep skin tone. I think on me it's slightly too intense, so I do prefer the OG Benetint because it's just a very soft berry. Honestly, you guys, I have a warm skin tone. I think that everyone looks great in like a soft berry. So I do love something like this. I think they're actually really easy to work with on the cheeks and the lips, and they last. So doing kind of just like a pat on the lips, on the cheeks, cheek stain kind of product, I think is just really fresh. I would love to do some more videos specifically just on lip stains or on cheek stains because they're kind of an obsession for me. But you could also go with a more traditional formula, like something from RMS, the Lip to Cheek. This is the red shade Beloved, which I am a very, very huge fan of. And it's a perfect red blush. It kind of just gives you this fresh, almost like pinched cheek look. You can tap it on the lips as well, and it looks really nice. There's nothing harsh about it, and it doesn't feel like you're putting a creamy blush on your lips, and vice versa. It doesn't feel like you are putting a really emollient, sticky lip product on your cheeks, and that's very important for this step. You know, that's been something for me that I've really had to narrow down in my routine. What makes a true great lip and cheek? But I'm gonna kind of throw a curveball at you guys because this is not an intentional lip product, but I really like it on the lips as well. And this is gonna kind of get us a little bit more into level 2 later. So if you're interested in this product and in this step, definitely make sure you continue to watch because the Haus Labs Glassy Blushes, I think are lovely both on the lips and the cheeks. And today I'm wearing Glassy Cayenne. That like main lip product is Glassy Cayenne and it's on my cheeks. Not only that, but it ends up kind of being my perfect blush, bronzer, blonzer shade, which is in level 2. So again, we'll talk about that in a second. But there are a lot of different formulas that work really well for this step. And I think for me, again, the versatility of a product goes a long way when we're doing like 2 to 5 minute makeup. And lastly, again, this is 3 makeup products for this. You want to spruce up either the brows or the lashes. Now, sometimes you can actually do both. There are some products that are like clear brow gels and mascara kind of things. That's not really my thing. I think for a lot of you, just a good buildable mascara is going to be your best friend. And when I say buildable mascara, all of these products that I'm talking about for this level 1 routine will actually be usable by the time we get to the level 3 routine. So these aren't just no makeup products that aren't going to look good with other more polished makeup items. And that's what I wanted this video to be about. I really wanted you to be able to play with the routine and everything still work rather than having to have a new routine for every single look. Like that doesn't feel intentional to me. So using a mascara like, for example, the Swede mascara, I love this for. I love using a mascara like this because you can use 1 to 2 coats and get a very light look. Super feathery, just kind of opens up the eyes and makes you look more awake. but you could also amp it up in some of your other more bold looks. And again, brows for level 1, I think that you should either choose a lash or a brow. For me, this is gonna sound kind of crazy to some of you guys. I actually like to go with my brows. I like to make sure I have a clear brow gel in them. For me, that's what makes me feel the most polished. Sometimes I'll skip mascara in a very, very quick makeup routine. But I know for some people, without their mascara, they kind of feel bare or their lashes might not be as dark. So for me, I say experiment and figure out what makes the most sense for you. So like ones that I would recommend are the Infinite Sculpt Brow Gel. This is a clear brow gel that like really you guys, your brows will not move. They are up and they are set. This is like one of my top brow gels I've ever used in my life, if not my favorite, because it gives you a really wispy kind of fluffy eyebrow look, but it is set in place. So sometimes certain clear brow gels make your brows look really shiny or like there's less hairs for some reason, like really sticky. It kind of weighs down the hair. That one does not do that. Or even the Super Fluff Brow Mousse from Maybelline. I love this for a quick brow because I find that this doesn't have too much product on it, so it's not going to get really messy if you just want to quickly add in a little bit of brow color. That's level 1. This is going to be really, really quick, you guys. Now, we're going to build and continue to build on these makeup items that we already have. Now, this next routine is more like a 10-minute routine. So we have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Finally, the more polished look will probably be more like a 15 to 20-minute routine. This is when I want to put on a little bit more makeup. It's not like I want to look like I'm wearing makeup, but I definitely want to feel more polished, a little bit more put together. In this arena for level 2, yes, we are still doing concealer, but this is when I think a good, well-rounded foundation or skin tint changes the game. And when I'm talking about foundation, I'm not talking about any run-of-the-mill foundation or skin tint, because if we want this product to be the foundation of our makeup look, this is a really big investment part of my makeup. It might take a little bit of trial and error to find the right foundation for you, but this is what I look for. One, it can't look like a lot of product on my skin. If I can physically see a lot of product sitting on top of my skin, I just do not like that look. This is what I prefer. This is my preference. I really want to add almost like an overall clarity to our skin. For me, it's just as much about the coverage as the overall quality look of our skin. We're not like looking to completely blank out our face. Because by the way, we still have concealer that can supplement any of the areas where we need additional coverage. So a product that I've talked about for literally years on my channel is the Kogan Do Aqua Foundation. I absolutely love this one because it looks both beautiful in real life and also looks very polished like on camera. So I have recommended this constantly for like event makeup, but if I'm being real with you guys, I'm not doing a lot of events. I just love it as an everyday makeup product. And the reason I love it is it gives a blur, it gives a lovely glow to your skin, but it also is not really emollient, really dewy, all while being a very fluid, lightweight product. That to me is most important. I love that really soft blur. I love my skin to just look radiant, like it is doing well, that it's healthy. I absolutely love this one. And again, some of these are a little bit pricier. I do have another option that isn't quite as pricey, but I will say out of like all of the different steps that I have, I personally tend to spend the most money on concealer and foundation because that to me is the true core of my skin, and my skin is what I like to look the best, I think, when I'm doing my makeup. Skin to me is everything. Another option, this is newer to me this year, is the Chantecaille Future Skin Gel Foundation. This is a little bit less coverage than the Kogan Do. You can't build it up for more coverage quite as well. It just has this soft blur, and then it just looks like you've kind of taken this airbrush powder all over the face. And spoiler alert, powder isn't in level 2. That's not till level 3. And for me, it's really important to be able to have a foundation that you don't necessarily feel like you need. to powder. Like, if you can only wear your foundation or your concealer feeling like you need to have a powder on top, that isn't necessarily intuitive to me. So I think it's much more important to go with a foundation that can be built up a little bit, has this really soft blur, and feels fresh. It has a freshness to it without it being overly greasy or dewy. So I really, really enjoy this option. Another one that comes to mind is the very iconic Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This could easily be a really great option. It's in that more light to medium coverage realm, which with a concealer, I don't think that you necessarily need to go full coverage, like I said before. With a little bit of concealer, you could very easily get a super perfected look with any of these. And another affordable favorite that I've recently been trying out is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. I remember when this first came out, people were like going crazy over it. This is also a really beautiful option because for me personally, it gives you that soft blurred effect and it looks really lightweight on the skin. It doesn't look like a lot of product. It's not overly dewy, it's not overly matte. So I think that this is also a really great option if you're on a budget. Once we have foundation down, I would then go into concealer. Nothing has really changed with this step, but when things change, it's when we go to the cheeks. Like I said before, you could absolutely just go with a cheek stain, put it on the cheeks, put it on the lips, be done. But I think when we're more intentional about the kind of cheek product we're using, we can get a lot more use out of it. So that's when I would recommend a one and done blush or a bronzer. Now, bronzers are this really cool category of makeup that is kind of a cross between a bronzer and a blush. I personally think that they are really user friendly. They're going to add a really beautiful liveliness to your face. And I think it kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of application because whether you put them like on the forehead or on the cheeks or a little bit over onto the nose, it's just going to look good. It's not going to look really muddy and it's not going to look really bright with too much pigment like you have blush all over your face. So the bronzer adds some warmth usually, a little structure, and a kiss of color. It is by far one of my favorite categories of product, and I've told you guys for a while that I was going to do a full bronzer video with all of my favorites, so please leave me a comment if you guys still want to see that. But I just want to go through a couple of options here, especially when it comes to formulation because I feel like this is pretty key. So like I said before, I think that the Haus Labs bronzers are a really, really good place to start. So I have Glassy Cayenne on my cheeks today. You could even go with Glassy Cinnamon if you're a little bit lighter as well. Beiges with a little warmth or like a really nice way to get a bronzer kind of look. You don't necessarily need to go with a really spicy terracotta, which I think, again, good on Haus Labs because I feel like they really understand that. You know, the shade Glassy Cinnamon actually has a little bit more brown to it, and it's probably going to be better for more medium to deep skin tones. This is like, I'll be honest with you guys, this is kind of the top recommendation. These are definitely best of beauty for 2025, and will continue to be a favorite going into 2026. And I love, again, that I can use them on the lips as well. I feel like no one is doing that though, so I don't know. But another option is something like the Glossier Cloud Paints. Now, these are plushy kind of blushes. They're like a cross between a powder and a cream. They have this really lovely plush texture. And the same thing goes with the Blurring Pillow blushes from Sochi. So these are very, very similar. I don't think you could go wrong with either formula. You can see how they have like that plushy kind of texture to them. These really want to blend onto the skin super easily. And I personally find that a beige with a touch of a warmth, if you want more of that true bronzer look, or even something slightly more cool toned like the Sochi, if you have more of an olive skin tone, or if you just in general want a little bit more sculpt rather than warmth, I think something like this would be a beautiful pick. So really, you have a lot of different options when it comes to this. This is the shade Gale from Glossier, and I absolutely love it. This is like one of my favorite steps in my level 2 to level 3 routine. For me, I do personally really like that if you are using something like the House Labs as a lip and a cheek in level 1, you already have this step kind of like taken care of if you've picked one of the bronzer shades. Moving on to brows, if you've already chosen to do a brow, like a tinted brow gel in level 1, then you are all set for this step. But if you decided to just go with a mascara, that's when I would say go ahead and get yourself a brow gel with a little bit of color like this, or even a clear brow gel. I think either way you're good. It just depends on personal preference here. We are now just doing both, getting some good definition with mascara and brows. And I'm telling you, that really, really goes a long way. I think you could absolutely also use this bronzer technique on the eyes. Just take a little bit into the crease and you are done. And really, we're building these soft layers of definition in level 2. For the lip, you can continue to use your lip and your cheek product, but I think that this is also a really good step to get a nice kind of like tinted glossy balm into your routine, especially because when you find a good one, it can kind of work as an extension of your skincare routine. Like your makeup and your skincare routine can kind of become one. So something like the Cocoa Kind Ceramide Lip Blur Balms, absolutely love these. They're both reparative and absolutely beautiful. I also love the Edam Le Chouchou lip balms. I have a couple of different shades, and those are lovely because, again, they actually repair the lips, but they look beautiful while doing it. So in this step, that's when I would recommend kind of go for something that is going to actually really repair the lips. And level 3 is a full polished look. We could definitely do a level 4 in another video if we wanted to. This to me is more like a I'm going out to dinner makeup look. I have an important event or a meeting, or maybe I just want to feel a little bit extra polished. It's still not overwhelming or overly complicated. This is about 15 minutes for me, but I think it could be maybe up to 20 minutes for some people. This is pretty much the makeup routine that I do when I'm on camera. It's like still quick, it feels polished, but it's also still like me. So number 1, we are going back to our foundation. Again, something like the Armani Luminous Silk. I used that on my sister on her wedding day. I go back to it a lot. Use another layer if you feel like it, but again, that foundation pick should already have us with a really nice base. Same thing with our concealer. No matter if we're putting on a lot or a little makeup, those products are going to get well with all of these looks. I think what starts to change with this look is a step that I really love, which is eyeshadow. Now with eyeshadow, you could go a couple of different routes here. You could opt to just do a very classic, like one and done eyeshadow. This is Mid-Century from Merit. If you want something that just is long lasting, it's going to give you a nice definition and a beautiful color. This is, by the way, really nice for like brown or green eyes. It's truly just a swipe it on the eyes and blend it kind of product. And I do have an entire video upcoming on my favorite one and done eyeshadows. So make sure you're subscribed for that. That should be probably my next video that goes up actually. And I have like sparkly versions of this. I have matte versions. So this is a step I love. I love a one and done. However, if you want to have more versatility, that is when I would go with a quad. Now, you don't necessarily need to go for a full eyeshadow palette. Sometimes having less options is better, just really strategic colors. So for example, this is my Surratt Beyond Beige. It is what is on my eyes. It has been Best of Beauty. It was Best of Beauty last year. It's probably going to be Best of Beauty again this year. I could very easily use this shade right into the crease and be done. I have a beautiful highlight shade. I have this dark brown, and we're going to come back to that shade in a second. And then I have a lovely, lovely one and done, which I could just use that shade and be done. So this gives me a lot of versatility to have a more impactful look or something super simple for every day. And that's what a good quad, in my opinion, a good versatile quad will do for your makeup bag. So this has been a favorite of mine for a very long time. I love the textures, and for me, eyeshadow is about finding textures that look really lovely on the eyes, that don't look really crusty or drying, and Surratt has definitely done that with these textures. Chantecaille also does some really lovely one and dones with a similar texture to these, so we'll talk about that in my upcoming video. However, something that's important with a palette like this is in this routine, kind of the level 3 is when I would think about amping up the eyes with maybe a little bit of eyeliner. When you have a palette, a quad like this, I think if you want to play with liner, go with a pencil liner. It's definitely more beginner friendly. You have some wiggle room to kind of smudge and get a really natural look. But another beautiful option, and again, something that gives you more versatility, is if you have a palette that already has a dark brown, that is my eyeliner today. You don't actually need another product. So that's when something like this I think is it's just very all in one, if you will. Another one that I've been playing around with recently is this one from Florasis. And this one has a really lovely wet kind of sparkly top coat in it. You are more of like a wet, sparkly top coat kind of person, but you also want to do a quad. I think a palette like this is also a good option. This is the 02 palette. Now, if you do want to use that for an eyeliner, you are going to have an eyeliner brush. So I love mine from BK. That's like my iconic eyeliner brush. I absolutely love it. Now, when we go into brows, I think that this is when I would personally opt to do a bit of a brow pencil if you feel like there isn't enough structure to your brows and you want to do more hair-like strokes. Now, I think some people could just do a tinted brow gel and it really go a long way. But if you like more structure, like I personally do, go ahead and use a brow pencil in level 3. It's really going to give your brows some nice structure, and I actually think it can really lift the face. So my personal favorite is Anastasia Brow Wiz. I think like that will always be my number one go-to. I also love the one from Rare Beauty and this one from Unleashia, which is a little bit less expensive. Their sharper defining eyebrow pencil is great. Go with one that isn't overly creamy because it's going to be harder to work with. Now for the lips, some of you might be thinking, should I just get a like full-on matte pigment lipstick? Now that some of us have a lip and a cheek product that works really well for both the lips and the cheeks, you can still use that product, just amp it up with something like a lip liner. So lip liners are a really easy way of getting a crisper look to your lip and kind of amping it up a little bit. So I personally love the Jones Road lip liners. I'm wearing the mauve one. I love how crisp they are. They last and they feel really natural. Like I just feel like I'm able to get a really plush kind of pouty look to my lips without it looking like I'm wearing a lot of lip liner. Like they've really just perfected the texture. It's not drying, but it also doesn't look really shiny. It's just really, really good. I go back to them constantly. That's another Best of Beauty pick, by the way. And then you could very easily add your glossy lip balm right on top if you do want to go more glossy. But you could also just take a tissue and pat off any of the lip and cheek product that you have put on your lips if you want more of a matte look. And lastly, something that I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for, powder. For me, this is then the routine where I feel like you could very easily do a quick strategic powder. Now, I have not powdered my face for this routine just because my skin was feeling a little dry this morning, but this is when you can take a small brush like something like this. This is the Hourglass brush. It's dual-ended, so it has a nice foundation brush right here, but you also have a setting brush. I love a foundation brush like this because I can use this to put on the foundation, but then this pointed little brush for powder makes it really easy so that I do not over apply, which is really huge. You could also just use a like fluffier eyeshadow brush that you don't use for eyeshadows. It just might take a little bit longer. That's when I would recommend the Kosas Cloud Set. I love this one. It is nice and blurring and soft and not super heavy on the skin, but it's actually going to set your makeup and make everything look, again, a little bit more polished. It'll take down shine in the areas you don't necessarily want it, and it'll set everything in place to give you just a little bit more longevity. Another great option if you want a loose powder is the RMS Hydra Setting Powder. I love this one because I feel like it really extends the wear of my makeup. This one is probably going to be better for like if you really want to extend your makeup, whereas I feel like the Kosas is a lighter set to my makeup. So it just depends on what you're looking for, what your skin type needs. But I have more of a normal to dry skin type, and I like both. I think they're both really, really nice. And again, taking a brush and just strategically setting your face is a great way to look polished but not overly powdered. This really covers a lot of your typical looks that you would wear in a year. So whether you, again, are rebuilding your whole routine, or if you're just a beginner, or even if you're just craving like some clarity in your makeup bag, I hope that this was helpful. So if it was, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed for my upcoming best one and done eyeshadow video. And if you want to see that concealer video, because you guys know, I love talking about concealers. I'm happy to do that video. Everything that I talked about today will be linked below, as well as my Printfresh robe. And let me know your level 1, 2, and 3 makeup routine. I would love to know this. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you in my next one.